play of the weekend. And here it is. This was on Sunday. Oh, this ball could be out of here. It's deep. It's way back. Hayden Yost going back for it. Oh, went over the fence to catch it. That was pretty cool. I think it made the top plays. A little salute from Jake Clemente there, who has really been great out of the bullpen. They've got a closer now. They've got a Friday night starter. Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Appreciate all of our great sponsors, appreciate all of our great guests, appreciate all of our great listeners. I just appreciate. Jimmy Hyams is going to join us today. That'll be really cool. We love talking to Jimmy. He's a good dude. You guys know him from radio and, of course, writing up in Knoxville. And he's retired, but he's still doing a bunch of it. And he'll tell you what he's doing up there. And that is really cool. Just a good friend of mine for a long time. I'm still not sure who Thursday's guest is going to be. A couple of people haven't been able to have had to say no. They can't. They can do it anyway. Monday, we will have Frank Frangie because Coach Spurrier still won't be here next Monday either, but we'll have Frank Frangie on, and that'll be a lot of fun to talk to him about the craziness that's going on up there and how people are taking to this Travis Hunter thing. We'll get to the draft in just a minute. Really cool to run into a friend of mine this weekend. In fact, he told me he listens to the podcast. Jim Myers, who, of course, he and his brothers used to own P.J. O'Reilly's down there on 39th or 13th, if you've ever been down there. That was a long time ago. 94 it closed, because I remember the last day they opened it up was the day the Stones played Florida Field. So it was 94 fall, late fall. But anyway, it was just so good to see him. They live in town now, he and Sherry, and looking forward to spending more time with them. And send our best wishes out to Danny, too. He's been dealing with some health issues, and certainly we hope everything works out for him. Anyway, let us move along to our Royal Blues starting five. It is brought to you, as always, by Royal Blue. Randy Royal over there, who does a great job getting you into the right boat. In fact, we're getting ready. We're going to have to talk about this when we're going to take some time off. But I still could probably do the podcast from because I'm just going to be in a nice, lovely resort-type place that my sister happens to own. Anyway, we're going to rent a boat and go out on it again. We do that every once in a while. All right, let's get to our Royal Blues starting five. Number one for me was what baseball was able to do. I'll get to golf in a minute. You know that. But baseball had to win that series. You had to win one game. But if you could win two, it was a big step forward. Now, they're not there yet. They're not where they want to be. 8-13 in the league right now. But to come back from down 5-1, I got to be honest with you, I was like, I'll come back to this game. This doesn't look good. And to win the game, the way they did, and was that did I have a tumor there, or did the lights go on and off?
Someone shut them down.
But that was just a great win for Florida. Now all the way up to 19 in RPI. Now you would think a team that's 19 in RPI with 3 weekends left in the season would be in the tournament. But they're still, they're in right now. But being in right now doesn't matter. It's whether you're in later. They still need some more wins. Sully obviously has lost his patience with pitching staff, And he pulled two guys with 2-0 counts, which he never does that. I mean, I don't want to say never. He rarely does that. He even said, I couldn't watch it anymore, you know. But they got through the weekend. I mean, obviously, the game Saturday night was not great. Well, to lose 7-0, I think it was. That was not a great performance. They didn't hit well. But they won that first game, took advantage, kind of a momentum-changing error on the pitcher in that game was pretty amazing. And then they went on to win the game on Sunday, which was a huge win for them. And you could just tell Sully's happiness about that. Again, they're 19 in RPI right now. And let us get to our Campus USA play of the weekend. And here it is. This was on Sunday. Oh, this ball could be out of here. It's deep. It's way back. Hayden Yost going back for it. Oh, went over the fence to catch it. That was pretty cool. I think it made the top plays. A little salute from Jay Clemente there, who has really been great out of the bullpen. They've got a closer now. They've got a Friday night starter. They're playing, their defense hasn't been great. And, of course, defense was a big problem on Saturday. Yeah, they had 4 errors in the game. But they still are making some good play. They're doing good. Now, obviously, the key is to get Shelton back, and I got to find out today from Jeff how bad that injury is. But he missed the game, and they still were able to generate a lot of offense. So that was really cool. And we usually we do our Campus USA with Coach Spurrier, but because he's a spokesman for them, and I bank there as well, and he does too. Campus USA is the best, believe me. I can tell you from experience, it's the best. But since he's not on today, we decided to have it here with the number 1. All right, let's get to number 2. Number 2 was something I watched all day. Well, not all day Saturday, but I watched the second part of it because it wasn't on the first part. And then I watched it all day Sunday. When I woke up, I certainly started watching it, and that was golf. The SEC championships. And look, I'm a guy who SEC championships matter to me. They just do. And my thing has always been, if you get into something, if you're going to go play something, go try to win it, whether it's the SEC basketball tournament. And we had a caller this week who said, this could be the year Florida doesn't win an SEC championship because they didn't win it in gymnastics where you thought they might have won it. They didn't win it technically in basketball because it's not the tournament championship that's recognized, but the regular season champ that's recognized as being the champion. But now you don't have to worry about it. Okay, but now they have a championship in golf, and that was just so much fun to watch. It was their 17th SEC championship in golf, which is pretty good. 266th SEC title for University of Florida. That is a pretty impressive number. Nobody's even in second place. I mean, I think it's Ole Miss or somebody who's in second in terms of SEC championships, but they're like a million behind. And that's one reason I love living in Gainesville is I love all the sports we have a chance to watch and be fans of, and I'm a huge fan of this golf program. I've always been. In fact, I got a text from Buddy Alexander the other day about something totally unrelated, but he did love the basketball win, I can tell you that. I'm a big fan of J.C. Deacons, too. Dudley Hart, of course, known him forever. And I'm just so happy for them and happy that they were able to do it. We'll get to some more of that golf stuff later in the show. But it was fun. It was fun. I'm not sure that it's coincidence. Maybe it's coincidence, but ever since Florida won the basketball national title, it feels like everything's going really good for the Gators. When the SEC in golf, you didn't do good in gymnastics, I guess would be the one thing. Baseball starts winning games. Softball's been doing good. I don't know. I just think winning does breed winning. And if you're around athletes that are wearing SEC championship shirts, it makes you want to do it that much more. I don't know if it's true or not. I might as well make it true. I'm going to say it's true. Okay. let's move along to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5. And that was the NFL draft. And, of course, the big story with Shedeur Sanders, how he dropped all the way to the 5th round. Look, I said it before. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's a dynamic quarterback. I think he's a good quarterback. And I think he probably will play in the NFL for a while. But he did bring a lot of baggage with him, and part of that baggage was self-inflicted when you see all these stories coming out, NFL guys saying he was the worst interview ever, he was very cocky, he took after his dad, I guess would be, I don't know if that's a negative, but he has a lot of confidence in himself. And okay, I'm tired of that story. I am tired of the Mel Kipers of the world coming out and saying, oh, you guys, the NFL has not been able to evaluate quarterbacks ever. They're terrible. That's the worst. And this is the league you cover. And it's just that you're wrong. You're wrong. And so you think they're wrong. And this happens every year. It's just usually not as vociferous with Kiper. And of course, Reese Davis came back later in the ESPN coverage. I only know this because I saw it on Twitter and said, hey, there's a reason he didn't get drafted high. This was not a great quarterback draft, and he was not a great quarterback NFL-wise. Now, if he turns out to be great, great. But that's the thing. All these guys do their mock drafts, and then they grade the draft based on their mock drafts, not on who you got. It's based on what you got in the mock, how it matched up with my mock draft is how I'm going to grade these guys. I'm glad the draft is over, and I'm glad that 7 Florida players got drafted. I'm really glad that Graham Mertz got drafted. Just a good dude. I mean, all these guys, I'm happy all of them. Nobody higher than the 4th round. That was Shamir Dike, and that was a cool video if you saw that. But the good thing is, I'm happy Des Watson signed with a team as a free agent. I think he got a $20,000 bonus too. I worry about Des Watson. I do. I mean, they were making a big deal about he was the biggest player they ever signed, and I think he said his weight was 464 or something like that. I'm like, what happens when the structure goes away for him to be only in the 400-pound range? That structure is going to go away eventually, and now it could go away very soon. I don't know that he's going to be a force. I'm just concerned about his health. That's just me, the dad in me, I guess. Almost sounds like a mom in me. One thing I did want to mention: Florida again didn't have a player drafted before the 4th round. 39 of the first 50 players drafted were either from the SEC or the Big Ten. And Florida played against 24 of the first 2 rounds of the draft, 24 players, and Florida had none. So that's what they were going to battle with. Now, this is going to all change this year. Of course, it's going to be a totally different draft and everything, and we'll see how guys perform. But those are a little bit of draft tidbits for you. All right, let's go to number 4 on our Royal Blue starting 5, which is what lacrosse was able to do this weekend. That big Arizona State rivalry we were talking about, Florida was able to win that easily, 17-5 over Arizona State, and won the Big 12 championship outright at 15-2 overall. I think they went 5-0 in the league. I got to think it's the first Big 12 trophy to ever show up in Gainesville for any reason. I don't know that Florida's ever competed in the Big 12, but they competed in it, and they've won it now. So proud of them. Next up for them is on Thursday. They're in the Big 12 tournament, so in lacrosse. And Florida will play UC Davis, another big rivalry game. UC Davis is in the Big 12? When did that? Okay, anyway, they played them at 6 o'clock in Boulder, Colorado. Now, that's a pretty good road trip. I've been to Boulder. It's a great city. But that's a long way to go. You might as well go ahead and win it as long as you're out there, right? That's what I say, and I just said it earlier. All right, so that's our homage to lacrosse, and we'll keep an eye on them. I mean, maybe this is a team that can get to the finals of the NCAA tournament. I mean, they're pretty good. and they've really played well this year. All right, let's get to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5. As it is every Monday, we bring you The Circle, brought to you by Steve and Christine Wendig, your Boss Heart Realtors. Appreciate them for being a sponsor of what's going on in softball. And, of course, for those of you who didn't watch it, all the games have been on TV, and they will be tonight too. Florida won the first game in run rule fashion, just pounded it. Ava Brown with a grand salami, and Florida was able to win that game. And then last night, I mean, this is 14-4 the first game. The second game ends up being 2-1. Florida with an error in the last to walk it off. Now, it wasn't a bad – I don't know if they even called it an error. I just turned it off as soon as I saw it happen. It hit a bouncer to Mia Williams, but it just took a terrible bounce, and it just – I mean, she was going to have to catch it, throw. They probably gave her an infield hit. I don't know. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is the ball got away and they lost the game. And I'm not blaming Mia. That was a tough bounce. But they got a chance to rectify all that tonight. If they can win this series, it'd be huge. Florida's still number 2 in RPI in the country. They put together quite a performance in terms of the teams they beat. And again, the win over Texas A&M, that series is a big factor because Texas A&M's number 1 in the country. So Florida playing tonight. That's a 7 o'clock game on the SEC network. If you're listening to this today on Monday, don't forget to watch it. I know I'll be watching it. Although I will say this, I don't know that I'm ready for the postseason in softball, only because it can be hard to watch when you're like into it, and it's just every pitch, you never know what's going to happen. Kind of like we dealt with basketball. I mean, I don't want Florida to play another basketball game for a long time. I don't want to have to sit there and freak out. Anyway, that is our Steve and Christine Wendig present The Circle for today. Let's see what they can get done tonight. And then, of course, next weekend, Oklahoma comes to town, the 4-time defending national champs. That'll be a fun weekend series as well. That's going to do it for our Royal Blues starting 5. Let's take a break, and when we come back, Jimmy Hyams is going to join us, of course, longtime expert on everything Tennessee, on another duly noted podcast, presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
At Royal Blue, we use such tools as AI, bulk email marketing, trade shows, Google search advertising, and multiple websites. We take a much more proactive approach to getting your boat sold in a timely manner. With our extensive client list and broker-dealer network, we can track down vessels that might be perfect for you and your family, that may not even be listed for sale yet, giving you the right of first refusal. We have spent the last 15 years in boat sales, observing and listening to our clients. In response to our findings, we have constructed a custom yacht brokerage that strives to fit their needs and not ours. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294. Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. You know, the kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. Now is the time to do something about it before football season rolls around again. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today. Okay, and welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Meldon Law usually brings you Coach Spurrier at this hour, but we've graded up, I think, actually, to get hopefully I don't lose my microphone again, but to get Jimmy Hyams. And, of course, you guys all know Jimmy Hyams. He's been covering Tennessee forever.
I'm not sure Coach Spurrier would think this is an upgrade.
Well, he's playing golf, so.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, when he plays golf, we all just kind of move out of the way. It's great talking to you again, Jimmy. I haven't seen you in a while, but of course you've retired, but you're still, like me, staying kind of busy, busy enough, I guess.
Yeah, doing. I've got a golf talk show that I do on Monday nights, and then I do a little TV over the weekend on Sundays, every other Sunday. And I'm doing these long form interviews that I've really enjoyed, Pat. It's talking to sports personalities, sports figures. We've got Tony White, a former Tennessee great, lined up for this week, but we've had a lot of Tennessee football players. We've had Roy Kramer on. We've had a lot of folks that we've enjoyed interviewing. Bert Bertelkamp recently, who told a great story about the rowdy reptiles. So we've
I saw that
we've
one.
really enjoyed doing that.
I got to be honest with you, I didn't know Roy Kramer was still alive. How old is he now?
94.
Wow. Well, good for him.
Yeah, he doesn't get around very well, but he is still really sharp.
Yeah.
And we talked to him about expansion. We went back to 1992 and all the ins and outs of what was going on, and told me some stuff I didn't know about, some of the inner workings of what was going on back in 92. That's 30-something years ago.
Yeah, he's a great source for. We obviously don't have Mike Slive around to be able to talk to anymore, which is a shame. But the commissioner, Roy Kramer, was around for a lot of it. Let's talk about what you've been dealing with, though, up there, because Knoxville was the epicenter of the college football world there for a couple of days. It was the weirdest story. After we thought we'd seen everything, it was still the weirdest story we've ever seen.
College football has gotten closer to the pros, and so we just saw a trade, right?
Yeah, that's right.
in
Exactly.
College football. So Tennessee's quarterback, Nico Iamaleava, his camp, primarily his dad, wanted a raise from about $2.4 million to $4 million when they saw that Carson Beck went to Miami for $4 million, roughly. Tulane quarterback Mensa went to Duke for about $4 million, so they wanted $4 million. Tennessee has already paid the guy well over $5 million. He signed a 4-year contract for $8 million. Pat, they paid him about $1 million when he was in high school.
Yeah.
And they looked at his numbers, his stats, and you can say, well, he got him to the college football playoff. You could also say he was 10th in the SEC in passing yards per game. The offense was like 9th in the SEC in scoring. And if it'd go to SEC games only, it was worse than that. Heck, they averaged 62 points a game in non-conference games and about 27 in conference games. He's a pretty good quarterback. He's not a great quarterback, and he certainly didn't worth $4 million. So Tennessee said, adios, Kazoos. He's out of here. And he goes to UCLA, and then Tennessee gets the UCLA quarterback who had transferred from Appalachian State to UCLA. And so now Joey Aguilar is the Tennessee, will be in the running for the Tennessee quarterback. And the other part of the equation that's interesting is that Madden Iamaleava, the younger brother of Nico, had actually committed to UCLA. And on signing day, he spurned the Bruins and went to Arkansas. Now he's leaving Arkansas and going back to UCLA.
I don't have a scorecard here. I'm having a hard time figuring out how to do this, how to add it all up. But it is the wildest thing because to me, okay, so Nico goes there and he bet on him. His dad bet on him, I guess, is what happened. And I don't know if you've heard the numbers from there, but it doesn't sound like he's getting any more than he was getting at Tennessee.
The numbers that we have heard, $1.7 million to go to UCLA. And when you couple that with the California state income tax and all the other taxes, it's going to be about $900,000. Now, he was going to make about $2.4 million at Tennessee. Now, here's the misnomer about that. He still was going to have to pay California state taxes unless he was a Tennessee resident. And I don't think he was a Tennessee resident. So, but yeah, he's making considerably less based on the numbers I've been told at UCLA than he would have if he had stayed at Tennessee. He's also got a lesser supporting cast. He's going from a team that won 10 games and was in the college football playoff to a team that won 5 games. He doesn't have much of an offensive line. It just looks like a really bad move on Nico's part and the family.
Yeah, and a good move on Josh Heupel's part. I'm sure he's kind of a hero up there now, saying, "Hey, look, nobody's bigger in the program, and all that's great, but now you got a quarterback who was at Appalachian State last year."
Yeah, Joey Aguilar is kind of interesting. So he played 2 years of junior college football in California. He's from Antioch, California. He goes to Appy State, throws for 3,700 yards his first year, right at 3,000 yards the second year. The concern to me about him is he had 23 touchdowns and 14 interceptions his second year in Appy State, and his completion percentage was 56%. You got to be better. It needs to be 65% in most offenses, in particular this offense. But he's a tough kid. He'll hang there in the pocket. He's a good runner. He'll mix it up. And so is he going to perform better than Nico? My initial thought is probably not. Would Tennessee have been a college football playoff team with Nico? My strong opinion is no. I don't think Tennessee was a college football playoff team, even with Nico, because, and here's my argument on that, Pat. While I think Nico can get better than he was, I don't think he can carry a team. And in my opinion, there is not one position group on Tennessee's team that is better than it was last year. Not one. And so I don't know how you would be a college football playoff contender if you are not as good at running back, receiver, offensive line, defensive line, and the secondary. You may be as good or better at linebacker. That might be it. Other than that, I think this is a 7 or 8 win Tennessee team.
Well, let's talk about that. Why do you think, and I know Florida wishes they were playing them the third game of the year like they used to, but they get them late in the year when, who knows, maybe Aguilar's figured it out, you know. But why do you think that about Tennessee? Because they've recruited well, but I guess maybe they've missed on some guys, or what is the reason for why it's not set up beautifully for Joey Aguilar to come in there?
They have missed on some guys. The other thing is, in this offense, first-year receivers do not come in and flourish. This offense, it looks pretty simple, but it's complicated from the standpoint there's a lot of reading. The receivers read the defense and then running their routes. The quarterback reads the defense and has to be on the same page as the receiver. It takes more time to develop that chemistry. I mean, even if you look at a guy like Jalen Hyatt, who won the Biletnikoff Award a couple of years ago, his first year he got benched in this system. It has taken receivers typically at least a year in this system before they start to flourish. So now Tennessee's counting on a transfer from Alabama and 3 freshman receivers to be in the rotation. I think that's a hard ask. At the offensive line, Tennessee's done a poor job of developing players they've recruited. I don't know why, but they've recruited 4-star offensive linemen who don't flourish, and they end up transferring, and then Tennessee has to keep relying on transfers. They got a transfer from Miami that they started a year ago, transfer from LSU. Now they got a transfer from Arizona. They got a transfer from Notre Dame coming in.
They had one from Florida, too. Played 2 years, yeah.
They lost 4 starters on the offensive line, and they've not done a good job recruiting it. At running back, I think they're pretty good, but they just lost Dylan Sampson. He was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. The defensive line will still be pretty good, but you lost a first-round draft pick and a second-round draft pick. The secondary, they lost 6 or 7 players who transferred out of here the year before. They've had more transfers, more attrition in the secondary again this year, and their best cornerback suffered an ACL at the beginning of spring ball or in the offseason, and they don't know when he's coming back.
Right.
So when I add up all those things, I just don't see a team that is as good or better than it was last year.
Yeah, I mean, they've got it's not an easy schedule, obviously. Anytime you're in the SEC and you've got to play Tennessee. You got to play. I mean, you got to play Florida. You got to play Alabama and go through it like that.
Georgia.
But Georgia, yeah, I think they're still in the league, right? Georgia, yeah. So yeah, it's going to be a tough schedule. But what is kind of the vibe up there right now with the Tennessee fan base?
Well, the vibe around football is they support what Josh Heupel did and standing up to Allstate. There have been some negative stories that have come about with the Allstate in his camp. Some are true, some are not. I think it's nonsense that people said that he wanted a lot of money or he wasn't going to play against Ohio State in the playoff game. I don't believe that for 1 second. It's been reported, but I don't believe it. So the vibe is the fan base is behind Heupel. They were glad to what he did at the spring game when everybody knew that Allstate was gone, and they introduced the two quarterbacks. They got huge ovations from the fan base. So they understand that this could be a bit of a rebuild at Tennessee. But here's the question. You stand behind him right now, but if you lose like 5 games in the fall, are you still going to stand behind principle? So somebody had a really good line the other day. They said, yes, Tennessee has what they call VFLs, Ball for Life, but do they have PFL, Principle for Life? I don't think Principle for Life is going to work in the fall. I do think that if you falter and you go 7-5, that a lot of we're glad we stood up to Nico, some of that's going to dissipate. You're going to have some disappointment on the fan base, which is going to say, well, why didn't you get a better quarterback? Well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? So it's all good right now with the vibe of Tennessee. But again, if they falter in the fall, you're going to hear some discord.
Yeah, and I mean, this is part of the problem with and of course, Jimmy Hyams coming to us on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line, but this is part of the problem with the transfer portal and the NIL is I don't think either one of these quarterbacks are being put into a great situation. Now, the kid from Appy State may feel like he is, but he's also got the pressure of being at Tennessee and playing in front of 110,000 people who may start booing him, Nico is obviously not, they expect him to be the savior, and that's not a good situation to be in. And like you said, I watched that team play. They're not very good, and they're not going to be very good next year either. And they've just spent a lot of money on 2 quarterbacks. I still can't. I understand brothers wanting to be together, but to be competing for the same job just seems kind of weird to me.
And Madden, who's the true freshman, is okay to be the backup for a year. And so after a year, Nico assumed that he's going to go to the NFL. Now, how high is he going to be drafted? I don't know. Let's ask Shedeur Sanders what he thinks about Nico.
Let's ask Quinn Ewers where.
Yeah, that's another one. And I don't think Nico's as good as either one of them. Not even close at this point. Now, he's not a finished product, okay? So I got to point that out. He could make huge strides. But is he going to make huge strides with the lack of a supporting cast the way, let's say, Joe Burrow did at LSU?
Right.
When he went from good to great, the way Jaden Daniels did at LSU when he went from good to great. I don't see that. I don't see that with him. But he's convinced he's an NFL player. The whole plan around Tennessee was the 4-year contract that he signed, which is not binding. But the 4 years, 1 year in high school, 3 years at Tennessee, and he goes pro. That's been the plan. But I have doubts about his ability to go to the NFL after this season, unless he makes a giant leap.
And again, like one of the receivers he had at UCLA is at Florida now. I mean, he's got a lot of guys, that have left that program. I do want to ask you about basketball, and we've got a caller to our show, radio show, who's always calling the coach up there, regular season Rick. But I mean, they made a good run. It was just they ran into a team that was better than them. But how do people feel about Rick Barnes and what he was able to do this year?
The overwhelming majority look at what Tennessee did, and they feel like Tennessee overachieved by getting to the Elite Eight. They feel like they overachieved because they lost a great one-year player for them in Dalton Net, who was the SEC Player of the Year. Chaz Lanier came in from North Florida and did a really nice job. He averaged around 18 points a game. Wasn't quite as explosive or as good as Connett, but I think when you look at it, most of the fans would say, hey, that was a successful year. You got to the Elite Eight. This is probably hard to believe, but Tennessee men's basketball, it's only the third time they've ever been to the Elite Eight, and 2 of them have been under Rick Barnes.
Yeah.
Tennessee's one of, I think, 5 teams in the SEC in men's basketball that's never made a Final Four. And they've made I don't know if they have the record right now, but I think they've made as many NCAA tournament appearances that make the Final Four as anybody. Maybe Xavier from Ohio was in that group. But no, Rick Barnes is beloved here. There is some chirping about how come he can't get to the Final Four, but the overwhelming majority appreciate the job that he's done. In fact, we had Bert Bertelkamp, who's a fellow analyst, who played at Tennessee, and he said, look, the best coach Tennessee's ever had in men's basketball is Rick Barnes. He has achieved more. He's had more number 1 rankings, weeks at number 1. He's had 30-win seasons. He's won an SEC regular season, an SEC championship. And so most folks are very supportive of Rick Barnes and the job he has done. But there is a little bit of angst about when is Tennessee ever going to make a Final Four. So there's a little bit of that out there. There was the old mantra earlier about, they call him first-round Rick. And he does not have a great NCAA tournament record. I think going into this year, his all-time record in the tournament was like 30-28. That's not very good. He'd been to 1 Final Four. He did that at Texas over 20 years ago. But what he's done in the regular season, what he's done to have interest, what he's done in rebuilding, and again, he's the only coach in Tennessee history that's made 2 Elite Eights. So he's got strong support from the fan base, but there are some that are frustrated that Tennessee is not advancing.
It does seem weird when you think about it that a place with twice the capacity for attendance at Florida, twice, the fan interest is better. I will say that there's a reason why it's a 20,000 seat arena. And Florida's been to what now? 6 Final Fours and won 3 national championships.
Yeah.
A lot of it's just having the right combination of players. You know that as well as anybody, Jimmy. All right, it's time for us to play Yes, No Way, or Maybe with Jimmy Hyams, and we always love doing this. It is brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteaks, street dining done the right way. Go in there and say you listened to the podcast or watched it, and you get free French fries with your order. All right, number 1, Yes, No Way, or Maybe, Jimmy. The Vols make it to Omaha this year.
Maybe. My concern about the baseball team, they have a great Friday night pitcher, Liam Doyle, terrific, Ole Miss transfer. He's been about as good as any pitcher in the SEC this year. But their day 2 starter is fairly good. On Sunday, they're a mess. They have been run ruled twice on Sunday, once by LSU and then once by Texas A&M earlier, and that was in Knoxville. LSU was at Alex Box. I don't think they have the pitching to hold up. So I'm going to say maybe, because it's hard for me to rule out Vitello and what he has done. But I would say maybe, leaning toward no.
Yeah, and I think you could say that about any team that makes a tournament, of course, because it's like, it's a crapshoot. We look at Florida last year, getting all the way to the semifinals with a team that barely got into the tournament. And remember Ole Miss a few years ago, which won the national title and was the last team in. So you never know how this is all going to work out. All right. Number 2 on Yes, No Way, or Maybe with Jimmy Hyams. Your sports writer of the year 5 times is better than your sportscaster of the year twice.
Am I a better writer than a sportscaster? Is that what you're asking?
Well, which one do you treasure the most?
Sports writer.
Yeah. That's the hard one.
I grew up on that. I started, I don't know how much you know my background, but I was a sports editor for my local newspaper when I was 16.
Really? And I didn't know that.
Yeah. Writing has always been my first love. Now, there's a part of me, like when I went from newspaper to radio and did a 4-hour show every day for 25 years, that's a challenge. So, yeah. I'm kind of proud of what we were able to do, because that's not easy. I worked a lot harder in radio than I did newspaper, to be honest with you, because you were you got 4 hours a day where you can't go anywhere. I can't go play golf in the afternoon anymore because I got to be on the air for 4 hours. That was a professional change for me to go from newspaper to radio. So, but I got to admit, I enjoyed sports writing more than I did radio.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way, and I do radio every day now and hardly write anything, but it's still looking at that blank computer is still kind of a thrill for me to put my name at the top. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Finally, on Yes, Nowhere, maybe with the great Jimmy Hyams. Jimmy, you know all the words to Rocky Top.
No, not even close.
I know some of them. There's a story about a woman who's half bear, and I can't remember exactly where.
The other half cat.
Yeah, that's right. Apparently, there was some bestiality going on there.
So what? I mean, if you really listen to the words, it's not an attractive song. The folks here will tell you it's got a nice little beat to it. Yeah. But no, I don't know all the words to it. I'll never know all the words to it. Quite frankly, I don't want to know all the words to it.
Yeah. I think it gets a little nerve-wracking when you get to some of those. Hey, Jimmy, it's always great talking to you, buddy. You're a legend, and you know that, and we appreciate it. Anytime we can have a legend on. We had to replace one legend with another one. So Coach Spurrier's out today. We bring in Jimmy Hyams. Thanks for being on.
Man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, and it's good to see you. Good to hear your voice.
All right, we'll be back with more of another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after we take this break.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Tebow Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, two things haven't: our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great. Okay, and welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging. I actually was texting with Joe Calorio from Titan about the horse that his wife's sister owns, and they're really involved in this. The odds came out, and it was 6-1. For the Kentucky Derby, because that horse won the Arkansas Derby. We showed you a picture of that trophy the other day with Joe, and Joe was like, I wish it was 99-1, because obviously he's going to bet on the horse that he's going there to watch, so he wants good odds. But hey, 6-1, those aren't bad odds. All right, let's get to our fun stuff we do in the third segment, starting with our Hesser and Kipke. Three things brought to you by Hesser and Kipke, attorneys at law. 352-339-9920 is the number to call, or reach them at www.hklawfl.com. Hesser and Kipke. All right, number one on three things. Arkansas has hired Tom Mars. Do you know who Tom Mars is? Tom Mars is the expert on all eligibility questions. And actually, he was an attorney in Arkansas and connected to Arkansas, and then the NCAA hired him. He was so good at it, and I guess he's back doing, or maybe he's not. But anyway, they hired him to go after $200,000, not $20,000, $200,000 that they say Madden to Alameva. I can get Tunga Vailea. I know that one. I get that one all the time, but I'm still not good on I am a Leva. Okay. I am a-leaving. Okay. Anyway, Madden, his brother who went to UCLA, they want that money back. And this will be an interesting dynamic to see how that works. It apparently says in the contract that, this is the deal and you got this much coming for this and they want some money back. So we'll see what happens there, and it could be a game changer as far as that goes. And Tom Mars never loses cases, man. That was the thing there used to be, I don't know if you were aware of this, there was a time when if you went to a place, you had to sit out a year. Not anymore, man. You don't have to sit out a year. But Tom Mars was a guy, if you could lawyer up with him, you could get eligible immediately. And if you couldn't afford it, you couldn't get eligible. How bad was that? There's no wonder we have the transfer portal. All right, let's get to number 2, and that is, are the Lakers done? A loss last night. I watched a little bit of that game. 3-1 hole. Anthony Edwards. I mean, I almost think if you're a Georgia fan, you got to go, God, why couldn't we win more games? I don't think they went to the tournament with him, did they? I don't think they did. He's such a great player, and they obviously came down to the end of the game, and they got it done at the end. So the Lakers, are they done? I don't know. I think they are, and it's I don't know. It's almost like, and again, my dislike for the Lakers makes no sense. I was a huge Lakers fan when Jerry West was there, a huge Lakers fan when Shaq was there, a huge Laker fan when Magic was there. I loved all those Lakers teams, and then when they traded Shaq and kept Kobe, I started hating them. I can't explain it. And now I root against them every time they play, even though they got Dorian Finney-Smith on the team. So I can't – it makes no sense. I'm sorry. All right, let's get to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, which in the NBA playoffs, also the big story yesterday. Dame Lillard looks like he hurt his Achilles. We'll see how serious it is when that news comes out, but could be the end for him. Just a rough time for him and just can't seem to get healthy, and now finally comes back and then gets hurt. They may be done too. I'm trying to get interested in the NBA finals or tournament, I guess you could say, but the playoffs, I'm just having a hard time really getting into it. Maybe I will. Maybe I will now that we're starting to get some separation, and the teams that are up 3-1 will probably win. But I like my Warriors don't look like they're going to be in good shape, but we'll see what happens. All right, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. It is some, I don't know. Look, the only reason I like the Warriors is because I love Steph Curry. Okay, I love that, watching him as a player, and I just watched him for 2 years. His name was Walter Clayton Jr. Oh, that was pretty good. All right, let's get to our BMI TeleMed Overachiever of the week. Of course, BMI TeleMed, your weight loss specialist. Achieve and maintain with BMI TeleMed, and I am having that myself going on, and I'm excited about where I am. You can look at me and tell I've lost even some more weight. So let's get to that, although I need to lose a lot more. I'm going to keep working on it. Our BMI TeleMed Overachiever of the week was Cam Ward. Now, I know that happened on Thursday night. Thursday night is a weekend to me, especially because I usually don't do radio on Friday. So it is a weekend to me. But anyway, Cam Ward, when you think about it, was a 0-star coming out of high school. A 0-star. Was not even rated. Went to Incarnate Word for a couple of years. Went to Washington State. Landed at Miami and did enough to be the first pick in the draft. I think he's going to be pretty good. I don't know that he's going to be Jaden Daniels good. I think a lot depends on what you got around you. But to be the first pick in the draft after being a 0-star recruit, I think they said he's the first one ever to have done that, makes him certainly an overachiever. And he is our BMI TeleMed Overachiever of the weekend. Let me tell you about the quarterback club, the Gainesville Quarterback Club, which we do know now that Billy Napier is going to speak on May 6th. That's a Tuesday night. Look forward to introducing him. I don't know if I'll have the privilege of doing that, but usually I do. But if I don't, that's fine. Last year he got there a little late. I had to tell a lot of Rodney Dangerfield jokes. But so he is set. Kevin Carter is set for the 16th of September, and they've got that trial membership now. You know when Napier's speaking now, May 6th. You can go listen to him at the Best Western. You can go listen to Laura Rutledge the next month. You can go in August to hear Billy Donovan. You can't beat that. Nobody's going to beat that schedule of speakers. And they keep going all year. For $250, you can join the Gainesville Quarterback Club on that trial membership basis, and you're going to have a lot of fun. In fact, I got a query about it just the other day, and I know a lot of people have joined since that special has been running. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, Billy Napier, we talked about it Thursday. We didn't know for sure when he's going to be there. They finally got it set May 6th, and that'll be a lot of fun. Look forward to it. All right, let's get to our Adams Rib Company. Gator of the Weekend, brought to you by Adams Rib Co. And we love the ribs there, man. We love all the food at Adams Rib Co. Our Gator of the Weekend, and I had a lot of choices because a lot of good things happened this weekend, but I went with Zach Swanwick. I hope I said his name right. Really good golfer. Anyway, he won all three. He went 3-0 in his matches this week, and I think Luke Poulter went 3-0 too. So I'll give it to both of them. But I mean, look, I'm a golf nerd, and I'm really a J.C. Deacon, Dudley Hart nerd, and I love those guys, and I just love watching that team play. And it was so much fun, and I'm excited about regionals and about the NCAAs, and you get to match play again on that, and that's why the SEC went to that match play, and it's really worked out well for Florida. Won this, like we said earlier, the 17th. Now, and this kid, Zach, is a freshman from New Zealand, so they got him for a while. I mean, they know what they're doing with recruiting. I tell you what, Buddy Alexander set the table, and then JC's knocked it out of the park. Because Buddy, a lot of those guys, I think maybe Ricky Castillo, some of those guys that have been on that Florida team, Buddy kind of laid the groundwork on, and then JC came in and closed it, but he's kept it going. He's doing a tremendous job over there. He should be our Gator of the Weekend. Let's make all the golfers Gators of the Weekend. Brought to you by Adams Rib Co. Let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Pick. And I don't think anybody got it right last week, because Thursday it was how many Gators are going to get picked on Saturday, and I don't think anybody guessed 7. But that was the total. So we'll try to give you something that's a little bit easier. Minnesota at the Lakers Wednesday night. Do they knock them out, eliminate them? That's the Wednesday game. It's on TNT, by the way, at 10 if you're staying up for it. But it's very simple. All you got to do is send it to patrickdooley54@gmail.com. I do need to get over to Leonardo's and get some more of those gift certificates. I did send one of them out, and I got one more to get it out. I also got to get some envelopes. I work so hard for you guys. But anyway, just pick a winner of that game. Minnesota, at the Lakers in Forum. Just pick a winner, Wednesday night game. You have till Wednesday at 10 o'clock to pick it. But don't send it after that. All right, let us move along to our Los Landeros Tequila smooth move of the weekend. And we all love Los Landeros Tequila. Go beyond with Los Landeros. And, of course, my man Car Scott and Urban Meyer is a big part of this, too. My daughter got a bottle from there the other day, and I said, hey, this is a sponsor of mine. Yeah, it's great. I'm glad you bought it. All right, so Los Landeros Tequila smooth move of the weekend belongs to Kaman Mulawach. I never can say his name right either. I've got to get better at saying names. Mulawach, the kid from Duke, the freshman, 7'2" guy, was a force in the tournament, but he was a 6.4 rebound guy. But he waited till the last second and smoothly moved out of Duke and declared for the draft. So I know Dukies they were hoping to pair him with the Boozer twins, and man, they were going to. But I'm not surprised he's going out. I mean, he must have gotten some good feedback, but that was a very smooth move on his part. Okay, it is time for our Gallo Sponge of the weekend. Gallo Car Wash, your place to go get your car washed. All you got to do is pay, and they take you, and your car doesn't even. It just magically moves right through the car wash, and next thing you know, you're done. It's sweet. Our Gallo Car Wash sponge of the weekend is Jake Clemente, who soaked up all the saves this weekend for Florida and has continued to be really good out of the pen, just throwing gas. They were able to use him for long stretches because they can do it on Friday and then again on Sunday, especially when you don't have a midweek that you have to worry about him pitching in this for the next 2 weeks. So you can use him 3 weeks. You can use him whatever you want, really. As you know, you can't use him for 9 innings. In fact, it almost feels like he should be the third starter. But, hey, you need a guy coming out of the pen, man. When you take those late leads, you need somebody who can be able to hold it, and he has been able to do that, soaking up all of these saves, 2 of them this weekend. Our Gallo Car Wash sponge of the weekend is Jake Clemente. We appreciate him for all he's doing for the mighty Gators. Let us now go to our Hugh, Cain, Allstate Mayhem moment. The Gator Nation is in good hands with local Allstate agent Hugh Cain. Stop by Alachua Marketplace Plaza in Alachua and get a free quote today. Okay, this was it. Playoffs, Denver and LAC. As you know, if you watch this game, this was a big story. This was like Lorenzo Charles throwing up an air ball, but it gets dunked. Right at the buzzer, they had to look at it. Oh, it's mayhem. It's mayhem. They had to look at it for a long time on the replay, and he got it out. Man, it was the first time in the history of the playoffs that has ever happened. That's pretty cool. A dunk at the buzzer. And mayhem ensued, as we all know. We appreciate Hugh, Cain, Allstate for being the sponsor of our Mayhem Moments. It's always fun to go find them. And when I find one, I'm like, yeah, that's it. The Mayhem Moment. Yay. All right. Let's wrap it up as we always do with our Swamp Games of the Week. And, of course, the Swamp Restaurant, the place to go when you want to watch games, man. It is the coolest place. It's where my daughter watches all the Gator games. Unless she's there, which some people are lucky enough to have been at the national championship. Chris Doring, Lisa King, Kelsey. I'm trying to think of some other people. Anyway, not me. That's all I know. All right, let's get to our games of the week. No midweek games for either baseball or softball this week. And those are over. So usually we have a Tuesday, Wednesday thing we can talk about, but this week it's more about the NBA, and we'll give you the Tuesday games. Milwaukee at Indiana. Indiana's up 2-1 in that series. That's at 6 o'clock on the NBA Network on Tuesday. Also at 7:30 on TNT, you've got Detroit at New York. New York up 3-1, probably insurmountable, and of course they missed that foul call and admitted they missed it. When I watch it, I'm not even sure it's a foul. I think he tried to draw it, and yes, could you have called it? Yes. If you'd called it, would I didn't care who won the game. So I don't have a dog in the hunt, and I think it was questionable whether it was a foul or not. That's just me. That game's on TNT. 8:30, you've got Orlando at Boston. If you think Boston or Orlando still has a chance, watch that game at 8:30 on the NBA Network. And then the Clippers at Denver. Ooh, revenge is coming sweet. 10 o'clock on TNT. That series is tied at 2, right? So the way I've got it written down here, so it must be. I'm not paying a ton of attention to this stuff, but I'm getting ready to start because I do like the NBA playoffs, and I like the fourth quarter of the NBA playoffs especially. All right. That's going to do it for another show. We appreciate all of our great sponsors. We appreciate Zach for doing a great job of dealing with my messes, and he had to clean up a couple of them today. That's not too bad. But we'll be back with more on Thursday. Again, don't know for sure who we got. Know we have Frank Frangie next Monday, and we'll get a good guest for you on Thursday. I promise you that. You know that. And I think you guys give me credit for getting good guests, and we'll continue to do that. Again, we'll be back on Thursday with another show from the Ponderosa. Until then, for another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging from the Meldon Law Gator Studios, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.